remember to like and share this podcast. Dr Hubble is one of Australia's most beloved bubble makers, a showman who turns simple soap and water into theatre, wonder and pure childhood awe. For more than 2 decades he's been filling festivals, schools and theatres with giant shimmering bubbles and the kind of joy and chaos that make kids scream and adults forget, well, they're adults. Behind the playful exterior is a seasoned performer who understands timing, science and spectacle. And believe it or not, he's my guest today, Dr Hubble. Welcome to Noel Anderson's 15 Minutes of Fame.
Thank you, Noel. Very nice to be here.
You know, I was thinking about bubbles and things like that. What I'm wondering, when did you realise bubbles could be a full-blown stage show rather than something that kids did in the backyard?
It's a tricky thing to answer. So I'd always been a showman and I'd been creating shows since I was a teenager and was in the backyard making some bubbles with my daughter, and I cut one of them in half with the bubble wand. And at that point, I thought to myself, there's probably more tricks you could do here. And so I started to look into what more tricks there could be. And then an old friend of mine said, "Oh, did you ever see that guy, Tom Noddy, who came out to Australia in the 70s and was on the Don Lane show and a couple of other chat shows like that? And he was the godfather of all the bubble tricks that all the performers do now." And I never saw Tom Noddy, but my friend said to me, "Oh, I saw him and I loved it." And I went away and I learned some of those tricks. So my friend, Anthony Livingspace, actually taught me a few of my early bubble tricks. And then once I knew a few tricks, it's pretty sort of second nature for me to be able to put them into a show.
And did you become obsessed with bubbles?
I'm 100% obsessed. I must be a nightmare to live with because I'm just trying to make bubbles out of different things all the time. I'm ordering different things off the internet all the time. I'm just completely obsessed, which I think is the only way to be a great performer, is to be obsessed by your art form.
So if you invited somebody over to your house and you're cooking something up in the kitchen, maybe a nice lasagna or something like that, are you washing the dishes up afterwards, creating a few bubbles as you put the dishes either in the dishwasher or in the sink?
My daughter does that all the time. She knows how to make big bubbles with her hands, and she will get the detergent and rub it on. And then, when we're doing the dishes and stuff, she's always making big bubbles. For me, I set myself up at the table or out in the shed and I just go away and I tinker with things, trying to work out, how can I do this? How can I do that? But a lot of the time I'm, staying up late at night trying to make new ideas happen.
And is there a trick that when you started off that you wanted to do that you haven't been able to do? A trick that you've never done or never been able to perfect with bubbles?
There's a couple that really require not only fine breath control, but absolutely intricate, precise movement, like surgeon type precision. And even when I can practice them and get them right at home, performing them on stage is very, very different, because on stage there'll be, someone opens the door of the auditorium and there's a waft of air, or the air conditioner can be turned down but not off, or there's dust falling from the rafters. So every theatre's different, every atmosphere is different. So when I'm actually on stage, I never know whether I'm going to get any trick, really. And that, I think, is why I still love performing this thing, because I'm constantly on my toes. I'm constantly improvising. I never know what to expect. And so every show is happening in real time.
So has there been any time when you've been turning a bubble, which is normally round, into a square bubble, which I believe is one of your tricks? Is that correct?
Yeah, I can do that.
Has it been a time when you've attempting to make this giant square bubble and it just doesn't work and there's 1,000 people watching you and it's just been terrible disaster?
And often on those occasions, it's not user error. It's more like equipment failure or mixture failure. And possibly the worst one was when I was performing in the breaks with the monster trucks.
So what are the monster trucks? What do you mean?
Monster trucks, they're like trucks that drive over cars and smash up cars and stuff. It's like,
Oh, okay.
it's like a big entertainment thing where there's massive trucks with massive wheels. They drive around the stadium and they smash over things and they go over jumps and stuff. A lady rang me up and asked me to do some stunts there. And I said to her, oh, I'm not really doing my old stunts that I used to do. I'm into bubbles now. So I'd like to come and do the bubbles.
What was her reaction to that?
Oh, well, she took me because she knows I'm a good performer, and I sort of sold her the bubbles. And then when I get there, we set everything up on a road case, and then they say, all right, you're on for 5 minutes at the end of this bit. And so at the end of the bit, we wheel the road case into the middle, and it's a stadium that holds about 8,000 people, and there's big screens everywhere, so everybody can see everything up close. And I went to do the first trick, and it just didn't work. It was like the mixture had been swapped out for water. And I really thought, oh my God, these people have sabotaged me. They want me to fail. And I've got a microphone. I'm talking to 8,000 people. I'm going, well, that one didn't work. Let's just try another one. And for 5 minutes, I was basically just apologizing, going, I'm so sorry. We'll try something else. What about this one? Nothing was working. And as the 5 minutes finished and I walked off stage, I was so angry and I was just like, oh, so livid. And then this guy said to me, well, what do you expect, mate? The air's full of petrochemicals. The fumes from these trucks is ridiculous. And what had happened was the exhaust from all of the monster trucks' engines had settled on the bubble mix and broken all the chemical bonds in the bubble mix. So it was effectively water. It was the longest 5 minutes of my life, because usually when you're a circus performer and you fail at a trick, you can just concentrate, take a breath and try again. But in this instance, the actual mixture was broken and I couldn't do anything. Luckily, I had some spare still in its containers, and I had to do another 5 minutes later in the show. And for the second bit, I took all my mixture out in the containers and poured it in like 1 second before I used it. And then I was able to do some tricks and get some applause and redeem myself.
Excuse my ignorance as I ask you this question, but the mixture you're using, it's not washing detergent or a normal kind of mixture. Does it have something extra in it so that the bubbles stay extremely strong?
In a really simple level, it can just be detergent and water. I'm not a chemist, so it's actually tricky for me to fully understand it. But there's these things called long-chain polymers. And long-chain polymers are essential in good bubble mix because they make the bubble long and stretchy. They make it able to close off well at the back. So when you're blowing a stream of bubbles, you can go, and you get heaps of good bubbles out from one breath. So long-chain polymers are really essential. And people say, oh, you have to have glycerin in bubble mix, but you don't really. We use glycerin to slurry the powders. There's a couple of different powders that help. The powders are not often water soluble. You slurry them with glycerin first, and that makes them disperse through the water better. But as I say, I'm a showman first and foremost. I'm not a chemist, so I can't really explain the deep intricacies of bubble mix.
The Brilliant Bubbles show is a mixture of comedy, bubbles, and a little bit of education. Would that be a fair description of the show?
I think there's quite a lot of education in there, but I like to try and break it into small snippets and deliver it in little bite-sized bits of fun information, because nobody wants to go to a theatre show and be bored like it's some sort of lecture. So this show is purely first and foremost about joy, enthusiasm.
And I've got to say, we certainly need that at this point in time, don't we? Given the state of the world at the moment.
Yeah, it's about all those things with little snippets of education thrown in, you know. I can tell people, oh, if you look carefully at a bubble, you can actually see when it's going to pop, because if you pay good attention, you can actually see the colours are disappearing from the bubble as the water evaporates. And so at the start, it's got all the colours of the rainbow, just like a normal rainbow in the sky. But as the water evaporates from the bubble, the colours leave the bubble. And then for a moment, it becomes golden. And then just after that moment, it becomes silver, almost like the outline of a bubble, like the ghost of a bubble. And at that moment, there's only detergent molecules left. There's no water left in the bubble. And at that moment, that actual thing you can see is 20,000 times thinner than a piece of paper. It can't hold together. It'll only last for a second or two. So if you watch really precisely and the bubble will break. So I teach them every show. There's so much information that I've got in my head and so many bubbles that I want to show people and so many tricks that I just choose snippets of information according to how people are feeling, how their attention spans are going, and how hot it is in the theatre.
And who is the best audience, the children or the adults?
The best audience are the people I'm in front of at the time.
So it doesn't matter what age they are?
A really good showman should be able to connect with any audience, no matter what their age group. When I first started doing kids, I realised, oh, wow, they're not one audience. They're like 3 different audiences. They need kids that are, 2, 3 and 4 need different things to connect with than kids that are 5, 6 and 7. And they need different things from kids that are 8, 9 and 10. As a showman, I felt like I had done a lot of adult shows and I connected with drunk adults and sober adults and adults in universities and adults in theatres and adults, all that. And I felt, I've made all those connections. Let's try some kid stuff. And I got into working with children. I went, oh, wow, it's actually more intricate than you think. And so now I feel like I've got things in this show that connect with all those age groups and the adults as well. So for me, when you say what's the best audience, it's actually the people that I'm with at that point in time.
So you're about to go on a tour, is that correct?
I've just been on one. I'm pretty much always on the road. The next major tour is New Zealand in July. Before that, I've probably got half a dozen little festivals.
How do you keep it fresh? Is each show different for you? Or do you ever, when you're on the road, start getting, oh, gee, I wish I didn't have to do this performance today?
No, because the bubbles never behave the same way, every show's different. And from the moment I walk on, I'm just in my happy place. I'm completely joyous and I just love it. Things that are slightly difficult are the travel, it's boring, and being away from the family. But the actual moments on the stage, they're what I'm on the planet for. They're the best moments of my life. I just love doing the show.
So if money, say, was no option and you could spend as much money as you like, what would be your ultimate bubble trick?
Well, what I'm working on at the moment is trying to blow bubbles out of my ears.
Oh.
I've got these piercings in my ears. They're probably about 12 mil, the hole. And I've been working on getting a little reservoir at the back of my neck, and a little pump and a tube that I blow air through. So there's a few tricks, but it's more about time than money. As a parent and a working showman, I wish I had more time to practice. I've been buying these new things that I want to put in the show. And I just started thinking, I'm going to have to create a whole new hour. I'm going to have to do Dr. Hubble's new bubbles so I can try all this new stuff. Because the show I've got at the moment, it's so packed. I can't put any new things in there. I just basically have to start again and make a whole nother 40, 50-minute show because I've got too many ideas. It's about time.
Well, I think, Dr. Hubble, we're coming to the end of our podcast. You're next at the Comedy Festival. Do you want to just tell everybody when you're on and where they can come and see you?
Oh, Christ, I didn't expect this bit. Well, I'm on at this place called the Spiegel House.
Lonsdale Street Spiegel House it is, yep.
Yeah, so you know. And then the time of the show is 12 o'clock. It's on, basically every day of the school holidays. I do have a flyer, April the 3rd to the 19th at 12 o'clock.
Sounds fantastic. One last question before we go. What do you hope the audience to take away with them after they've seen your show? What would you like them to walk out feeling or thinking?
I want people to walk out feeling happy and to realise if we all work together, we can make the world a better place.
Well, that sounds like a fantastic thing. Dr. Hubble, this has been your 15 Minutes of Fame.
Oh, good on you, Noel. Thanks very much.
And you were getting very passionate there.
Yeah, well, I am. I can talk about bubbles for ages.
You can, yes. You've been listening to Noel Anderson's 15 Minutes of Fame. If you enjoyed this podcast, remember to share it, like it, and subscribe.